Hi, welcome to Parrot and Wolf. Today we're going to talk about continuous actions in English. Now, continuous actions happen over a period of time, and it's this period of time that makes them unique and different to other verb tenses. There are different ways to talk about continuous actions and states because they can happen in the present, the past, or the future. So we have present continuous, past continuous, and, you guessed it, future continuous. To begin with, let's ask ourselves, what is the difference between a continuous tense and a simple tense? And how do we use them? Well, let's find out. I eat breakfast. The verb form in this sentence is present simple. It describes a general fact and is something that happens regularly. Now let's think, is it happening right now? No, but it does happen. Is it a temporary action? No, it's a habitual action. Will it finish in the future? No, it doesn't describe that. It's not dependent on time. It's a general fact or permanent state. So what about this next sentence? I am eating breakfast. The verb form in this sentence is present continuous. It describes something happening right now. It's a temporary action that started in the past, it's happening now, and will continue in the future. So let's think. Is it happening right now? Yes, usually. Is it a temporary action? Yes. And will it finish in the future? Yes, it must. So if it starts in the past, it's happening now, and it must finish in the future, we say it depends on time. I live in London. This sentence is in the present simple tense and describes a general fact about where you live. It's in present simple, so it's not a temporary action or state. It's not time dependent, so it means it's permanent. I am living in London. This sentence is in the present continuous tense, so it describes a temporary action. It's happening now. You live in London now, but at some point in the future, it must finish because it's temporary and you will move away and live somewhere else. You may have noticed that I replied usually to the question, is it happening right now? And the reason is continuous tenses can also describe repeated actions that happen often over a period of time, but will finish in the future, so they can be considered continuous actions. You might not be doing it right now, but it is something that you repeat often enough to be considered continuous. I am studying English. This sentence is in the continuous tense and describes an action that isn't necessarily happening right now, but it is something you do often at different times. Now, you may ask, this sounds like a habit or general fact, so why don't we use present simple? Well, we use present continuous because you will stop repeating the action at some point in the future. It may take months or even years to complete, but it will definitely finish. In other words, it's temporary and therefore time dependent, so we use the continuous tense. The present continuous verb tense describes actions and states that are happening right now and also actions and states that repeat and happen often. So that's the present continuous. Now, what about the past? I was doing my homework all night. The verb form in this sentence is past continuous. It describes something happening in the past. Now, it's a temporary action that started in the past, continued for a period of time, and then finished in the past. Let's think. Does it start in the past? Yes. Does it happen over a period of time? Yes, it's continuous. Is it happening right now? No. So, does it finish in the past? Yes. So, is it a temporary action? Yes. It starts in the past, which is similar to present continuous, remember, but past continuous is not happening now, so it must finish in the past. That's the difference. We often use the past continuous to describe an action over a period of time when a second action happens. For example, I was watching television when the phone rang. This sentence shows us the phone rang in the middle of watching television. You started watching television before the phone rang, and the phone rang during the continuous action. Note that from this particular sentence, you don't know whether the person continues to watch the television during and after the phone call, or whether they stop watching to answer the phone. What is important is the continuous action until the phone call, showing a possible interruption. So that's the past, and we looked at the present. So what about the future? Well, you'll be pleased to know it works exactly like the past, just in the future instead. So let's have a look. I will be washing the car. The verb form in this sentence is future continuous. It describes something happening in the future. It's a temporary action that will start in the future, continue for a period of time, and then finish later in the future. So let's think, is it happening right now? No. Does it start in the future? Yes. Does it happen over a period of time? Yes, it's continuous. Does it finish in the later future? Yes. So is it a temporary action? Yes, you've got it. It starts and ends in the future. That's the difference. It's very similar to past continuous, just all in the future. We often use the future continuous to describe an action over a period of time when a second action happens in exactly the same way as we did with the past. For example, I will be watching television when you get home at 6 p.m. This sentence shows us that at 6 p.m. tonight, you will be in the middle of watching television when the other person arrives. You will start to watch television before 6 p.m. and then the other person arrives during the continuous action. Note again that from this particular sentence, you don't know whether you will continue to watch the television after the person arrives. You might stop watching, you might continue. So, how do we form the continuous tenses? Well, when talking about continuous actions and states, we always use be plus the ing form. The good news is the ing form is the same in all situations. The bad news is you have to change the verb be depending on the tense and who the subject is. So let's have a look. For the present continuous, in the sentence, I am eating breakfast, I is the subject, am is the auxiliary verb be, eating is the ing form of eat, and breakfast is the object. Some other examples are she is eating breakfast, we are eating breakfast. For the past continuous, you use exactly the same form, be plus ing, but this time be is in past tense form. So in the sentence, I was eating breakfast, I is the subject, was is the auxiliary verb be in past tense form, eating is the ing form of eat, and breakfast is the object. Some other examples are she was eating breakfast, we were eating breakfast. The future continuous is much easier because will is a modal verb, and the good news is the form stays the same with every subject. Great. So in the sentence, I will be eating breakfast, I is the subject, will is the future modal verb, be is the auxiliary verb be, eating is again the ing form of eat, and breakfast is the object. Some other examples are he will be eating breakfast, we will be eating breakfast. Remember, it's worth mentioning that the present continuous can also be used to describe arranged events in the future, which is discussed in detail in the other Parrot and Wolf video, Futures. Using all these different verb forms can be a little confusing at first, and I know it's difficult, but my advice is concentrate on the basic rules in these videos and you'll have an excellent set of tools to speak accurately, fluently, and most importantly, be understood. So a last note on English pronunciation, we always contract the verb forms. For example, I will be watching television becomes I'll be watching television, and I am living in London becomes I'm living in London. With the verb be, also be careful with how it contracts with the subject. For example, I am, I'm. You are, you're. He is, he's. She is, she's. It is, it's. We are, we're. They are, they're. These contractions are common when speaking and writing, but of course informal when writing. So, to summarize, continuous tenses describe temporary actions and states in the present, the past, and the future. Continuous tenses use be plus the ing form of the verb, and remember to always contract the verb forms. To find out more about learning English for Cambridge and IELTS exams, business and work, or general conversation, visit ParrotandWolf.com.